There are very few video games out there that I'd consider to be milestones or achievements for the video game industry as a whole. Super Mario Bros. For bringing gaming to the home consoles, Super Metroid for creating the side-scroller, Wolfenstein for starting the FPS genre, and so many more. Among that list of history's most revolutionary games, The Last of Us is right up there with the best of them. This 2013 PlayStation exclusive not only brought more eyes to gaming as a whole, but proved storytelling on this medium could be so much more than it already has been. The story of The Last of Us is a gut-wrenching, beautifully written story about a man and a girl's struggle for survival in an inhospitable and broken world. Joel and Ellie aren't necessarily written as heroes, but more so as survivors. Because in a world as cruel and unforgivable as the world of The Last of Us, that's all you can be. The Last of Us truly revolutionized strong narrative-based games with a great gameplay loop. Usually it's one or the other. Personally speaking, The Last of Us was one of the main reasons I actually bought a PlayStation in the first place, because my bread and butter are story-based games. I'm a player who typically prioritizes story over gameplay, and tragedies are my favorite genre, so it was almost like The Last of Us was practically made for me. So today, I want to analyze the story of The Last of Us and break it down in order to truly get a stronger understanding of the story. This video will be broken up into two sections, a brief narrative recap followed by my analysis. If you wish to skip ahead to certain parts, there will be timestamps in the description below. Beginning in 2013, Joel, a single father with his 12-year-old daughter, Sarah, are blindsided by a sudden outbreak of a very severe infection known as the cordyceps brain infection. A real-world fungus that, in extremely basic terms, is a fungal infection that basically turns bugs into mushroom zombies. Joel and Sarah meet up with his brother Tommy and attempt to flee. However, nearing the outskirts of the city, a soldier attempts to execute Joel but merely wounds him, yet kills Sarah. 20 years later, Joel is living in what remains of Boston and is working as a smuggler with his partner, Tess. After coming back from a deal with another client, Tess explains to Joel that she was jumped and all of her weapons were stolen by a man named Robert. They find him, and he confesses that he had sold the guns to the Fireflies, a paramilitary group with the main goal of restoring a lawful government in the United States. After killing Robert, Tess and Joel encounter Marlene, the head of the Fireflies, and she tells them that she will part with the guns and double the payment if they agree to smuggle something out of the city for her. Taking them back to a safe house, Marlene introduces them to Ellie and asks the two to smuggle her out of the city. The three of them set off to a drop point where other Fireflies will be waiting to receive Ellie. Before they get too far, they're ambushed by the military. As they're checking them all for infections, Tess and Joel pass with Ellie being infected. Killing the soldiers, Ellie tells them that she's immune, and that Marlene believes that she may be the key to finding a cure. Joel is reluctant, but Tess believes there may be some truth to what she's saying. Making it to the Capitol building, they find the Fireflies dead. Joel gives up and says they tried and failed and proposes they return home. But Tess reveals that she had been bitten on the way to the building. Tess begs Joel to bring Ellie to Tommy, as he used to be a part of Marlene's group and may have an idea of how to bring her to the Fireflies. Tess stays behind alone to cover them against the approaching soldiers as Joel reluctantly flees with Ellie. Needing transportation, Joel and Ellie find Bill, a survivor who owes Joel a favor, and together they manage to get a car working. Cutting through Pittsburgh, they are ambushed and forced to escape on foot. Running into another pair of survivors attempting to escape from the attackers as well, brothers Sam and Henry agree to work with Joel and Ellie. Escaping Pittsburgh and making it to a radio tower, they spend the night indoors talking about past memories before the outbreak. The next morning, they realize Sam was bitten. Henry is forced to kill his brother before he shoots himself. Joel and Ellie make it to Wyoming and find Tommy. Overhearing Joel wanting to pass Ellie over to Tommy and make her his responsibility, Ellie runs away. Finding her and eventually working out their issues, Joel decides to continue his journey with Ellie. Tommy tells them that there is a Firefly base at the University of Eastern Colorado, so the two head there. Finding it abandoned, they learn that the remaining Fireflies left for Salt Lake City. Before they can leave, Joel and Ellie are ambushed. The fight causes Joel to fall and be impaled by a metal beam. However, Ellie manages to help them escape. Patching Joel up, Ellie is forced to scavenge for both of them as he recovers. Running into a man named David, Ellie learns he was part of the group that ambushed them at UEC and wants revenge. Ellie is kidnapped as Joel finally has enough strength to go out and look for her. David reveals his people are actually cannibals and won't eat Ellie if she stays with him. Ellie escapes from David as Joel enters their camp and finds her right as she brutally kills David. Finally making it to Salt Lake City, Joel and Ellie are saved by the Fireflies after nearly drowning. Marlene tells Joel that in order to extract a cure, they have to remove the infection from Ellie's brain, killing her in the process. Joel snaps and kills many Fireflies as he breaks into the operating room and saves Ellie. Marlene makes one last plea to stop Joel and just let her live, to which Joel replies with the series' most infamous line.
You just come after her.
Taking her back to Tommy, Ellie asks Joel what happened. He lies to her, telling that there were dozens of immune people and they couldn't find a cure. Ellie tentatively believes him. Back in Wyoming, Ellie expresses survivor's guilt, mentioning all of their friends who have died, and wonders if she could have done more to end the pandemic. She asks Joel to swear to her that everything he told her about the Fireflies was true. Joel doubles down on the lie, and Ellie simply replies with,
"Okay."
As I've said multiple times, this is a story of survival. The need for survival is an overarching theme that drives everyone in this story. In a world where survival is all that matters, it sadly comes with a cost: the forfeiting of one's humanity. At the beginning of this story, not even an hour into the outbreak, Joel loses his daughter, Sarah, not to the infection, but to another human. A typical story trope found in most zombie or post-apocalyptic stories is that humans are the true monsters. Bill even makes comment on this.
You know, as bad as those things are, at least they're predictable. The normal people that scare me.
However, what the story does is take that concept a bit further by making everyone in the world the monster. Joel and everyone he meets, regardless if they were trying to kill him or not, are arguably as bad as everyone else. In a world where good people don't survive, all that's left to inhabit the earth are those willing to do the absolute worst things imaginable in order to prolong their existence. Everyone in this story isn't some black and white character. In the world of The Last of Us, the concept of good or bad or right or wrong isn't really a thing anymore. It's all about survival. While looking at it from the context of modern society, we obviously perceive actions in this game as evil or wrong, but I perceive it as nature. Do we think a wolf is wrong for killing a deer? Is a wolf evil for that? The Last of Us is a regression of humanity back to its base instincts of survival. Yes, the hunters are bad for needlessly killing people and stealing their things, but it's just survival. Yes, David's cannibals are bad for eating people, but it's just survival. Yes, the Fireflies are bad for forcing Ellie, a 14-year-old girl, into sacrificing herself for humanity. But again, it's all for survival. The wolf isn't evil, the wolf just survives. It's a rather pessimistic way to look at the world, but it makes total sense. 20 years into the apocalypse, obviously those who are still around aren't going to be saints. Those who endure survive. Throughout everything Joel and Ellie see on their travels, the horrors of humanity and the infected, the one constant is that the world doesn't care. While everyone and everything is trying to kill Joel and Ellie, the world is completely fine. Whether or not Joel and Ellie make a cure and save humanity, the world will live on. I'd argue more beautifully than it was before. All that's left of humanity are survivors, cannibals, monsters, and the worst of the worst. As the story tells us time and time again, only those willing to do whatever it takes survive. So, do they really deserve a cure? The world has reclaimed itself. All the animals are fine. The water is clear. The air is pure. The world is more green than it's been in centuries. Life goes on. Life, finds a way. That's a key factor here. The world itself isn't evil. The infected aren't evil. The only thing that is quote-unquote evil in this world are those who are left to inhabit it. Speaking more about the characters of the story, I believe the story goes far deeper than Joel simply seeing Ellie as his surrogate daughter and Joel her father. While Joel and Ellie are equal parts protagonists in this story, I'd argue Joel is the main focus here. When we start with Joel, he's a shell of the caring father he once was. Throughout the story, we learn the reason for his coldness was due to him having to do unimaginable things to survive. While it's never explicitly explained, we can infer some of those things were damning to be sure. Joel mentions he was on both sides of ambushes and killed many innocent people, and Bill even remarks on the fact that Joel, out of anyone, should know not to trust people. Tommy states he still has nightmares from those years, and the fact that he survived wasn't worth it. This is all evidence that Joel is not a good man. Everything he's done and seen resulted in Joel being a shell of what he once was. Not human, just this empty vessel that only cares for survival. Yet when Joel meets Ellie, she's the instrument in restoring Joel's humanity. She's a naive 14-year-old girl who, before meeting Joel, had never experienced the harshness of the outside world. So once the two are together, traveling through the wastes, the two begin to evolve with each other. Not to mention the fact that through each major chapter in the game, Joel witnesses mirrors of his situation. In Billstown, Joel sees what he could eventually become now that he lost Tess. In Pittsburgh, Joel meets Sam and Henry, brothers who are on a similar path as Joel and Ellie. Yet, despite their positive relationship with each other, Henry doesn't trust Sam, which I'd argue leads to both of their deaths. In the sewers, Joel learns of the story of Ish, a man who trusted humanity and was paid in kind with a thriving community and family. With Tommy, Joel had been so adamant about keeping Ellie at arm's length that he doesn't realize or care that he's asking Tommy to leave his family. It's when Ellie confronts him about how everyone except Joel has left her that he finally realizes how much she means to him. And later, once David takes her, he has the same epiphany that he might lose what is essentially his second chance at protecting Sarah. He finally admits this to himself as he calls Ellie
He tried to.
Oh, baby girl.
a name he once called Sarah.
You're my baby girl.
Once in Salt Lake, Joel finally opens up about Sarah, which is an indication that Ellie has fixed Joel's broken pieces. However, in the end, despite his humanity being restored, it's his selfishness for keeping it that drives his hand to revert to his inhuman self. The fact that Joel saves Ellie and kills the only one left who could actually make a cure is out of pure selfishness. In his mind, his personal happiness outweighs a cure that would save the human race. But based on what Joel has seen and experienced, he comes to realize that what's left of humanity doesn't deserve to be saved. But what does deserve to be saved is Ellie. Throughout Joel's journey with Ellie, they each influence each other and mold their personalities around one another. Through Ellie, Joel regains his lost humanity. And through his experiences on their journey, Joel gains a new perspective on the world. For Ellie, it's the other way around. Through her travels with Joel, she loses a part of her humanity. She has never seen the world outside of the Boston QZ, and when she does, it breaks something in her. In Billstown, Ellie sees what people pushed to the brink of survival at all costs results in. In Pittsburgh, after meeting Sam and Henry, she learns that even good people die needless and senseless deaths. In the sewers, after Ellie learns of the story of Ish, she learns that even the best, most well-protected places with the most good-hearted people are only biding their time until the reality of the world crashes in. With Tommy learning that Joel just wanted to get rid of her, like everyone else, she's reminded that the only one she can truly trust is herself. And later, once David takes her, all those lessons she's learned comes to fruition, and she escapes captivity and brutally kills David, teaching her that, once again, the world is a harsh, inhospitable place. Once in Salt Lake, after she wakes up and sees that Joel has taken her away from the Fireflies because there are quote-unquote dozens of immune people, Ellie is apprehensive. Despite her saying okay and trusting Joel, she knows he's hiding something, like everyone else in this world. She's no longer that naive 14-year-old girl. She's seen things and had to do things to survive. She's basically becoming a new version of Joel. And as she continues down this path, she will inevitably become the same monster he once was. The Last of Us is a story of survival. Only those willing to do what is absolutely necessary to survive can survive. However, it comes at the cost of their humanity. Through Joel meeting Ellie, he was able to reclaim what was once lost. He was able to find his missing piece. He was able to find his humanity. Yet, as we've seen time and time again in this world, those who do find their humanity, well, their days are numbered. In this world, the good don't survive. Only the wicked do. Ellie, on the other hand, sadly lost that aspect of herself and therefore can live in this world, which, at the end of the day, is exactly what Joel wanted. Ellie helped Joel and Joel helped Ellie, both in the ways they needed. The Last of Us is among one of my favorite games of all time. Everything about the story just works for me. The characters, the story, the world are all perfect and showcase an incredibly dark yet melancholic side of humanity and asks us a question that not a lot of stories in this day and age do. I will always come back to this game, and I will never forget each time I go cross-country with Joel and Ellie.